conversation in the first place, because it's like, why are you here without even, like, and at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not here to gain no sympathy or to be like, yo, I'm the victim. I'm not here to talk about those things. I do understand that somebody's deeply hurt regardless of the fact, and I feel like there's this big misunderstanding that I don't have remorse for my friend being in a place of pain, and that's just not the case. I'm not a person who's, you know not remorseful. It's just that there's certain facts of that night that haven't been presented, and at the end of the day, it's not of my jurisdiction right now legally for me to talk about those things. And I'm
We don't want you to talk about your case, Tory.
Yeah, and all the women and all the Black women out there that feel affected and deeply affected by the timing of sometimes the things that I do and how it can come off insensitive, because at the end of the day, I can take full responsibility for making mistakes on my timing. This wouldn't be the first time I've made a mistake on, even with my timing of my album, certain things like that. I'm constantly just being judged on something that nobody was around to witness or was there or has real factual proof of. You know what I'm saying? And it's not of anybody's jurisdiction. I feel like in my life right now and don't get me wrong, I'm not here to tell you shouldn't have an opinion, but I don't feel like it's in anybody's jurisdiction to be telling me exactly or calling me a certain name or labeling me as something without true facts and evidence of what you're labeling me as. And I feel like I'm getting scrutinized in, a lot of places where it's just like I don't stand for, you know, not protecting, like I don't stand for the unprotection of like Black women that like, and I'm becoming this poster boy for making Black women feel unsafe. And it's like, I've never been that person. I've never portrayed to be that person. In all of the years that I've been here, I don't have any domestic cases. You've never seen me in a domestic, relationship or in a domestic abusive anything. I'm a very private person when it comes to certain things. And maybe, if you're not someone who really pays attention to me, you may not notice, but like when it comes down to my relationships and things like that, you've never seen me openly dating somebody or online or whatever cases. I keep my stuff to myself. So I do understand that this situation has been very sensitive to a lot of people because of the fact of the timing in which I was able to say certain things. And, a lot of people feel like, well, if you're innocent, then why wouldn't you just say this, that, and say, and I get it, but my personal, I guess, way of handling things that were going on in my personal life and on a legal side, constricting me to doing certain things. And again, like right now, I can't talk about certain things that have to deal with, my actual insides of my case, but I don't stand for, unprotection of Black women. I stand for everything that has to do with uplifting Black women. I've always been somebody who's tried to show in different times, even if it's never, or not, I shouldn't say never, but even if there's been times where I've come off the wrong way or whatever the case is, I've always tried to show my sensitivity in that area. And so I guess sometimes, knowing what this app is about and seeing a big chat with 500 people or 400 people that is bashing his friend, and he's not probably the person that should be speaking in this chat. And I would say that in front of him regardless. He's the one who originally showed me that the chat was going on. So I guess when he DM'd whoever he DM'd or whatever to get inside of the chat, he just came out of a place where anybody's friend who's not seasoned to be speaking about something inside of that place. And I could say that wholeheartedly with him on the phone. Like this may not be the subject matter that he's seasoned to speaking. And if my friend came out of a turn before I got here, I can apologize for him, but his actions are not my actions.
I think it's more about the concern for the people that you're surrounding yourself with.
That's
right. And then also to go off that point, like earlier you said the reason why you wasn't saying anything is because your lawyer and everybody was telling you not to speak. But here you are in a room with over, what is it, 500 or 600 people, and you're literally sitting here talking.
But
so does your lawyer know about that as well?
Yes, she does. And here's the difference, right? Before this, I had a court case to attend, and I didn't have certain things that I needed to have before I was able to speak on certain things. So, I mean, I understand, like, you're not the one that is facing 22 years. And so certain things, like for you to say that I don't understand the severity and I'm over here facing 22 years for something that I know that didn't happen the way that I'm being alleged or whatever the case is, it didn't happen that way. regardless, is like you guys, and I'm not even gonna try to make anybody like everyone's against me. It's not that everyone's against me. What I am alleged, or what it is alleged that it is said that I've done. If I actually did that, I understand. I would feel how you guys feel, and that's why I said there's nothing wrong with how you guys feel, because you're only going off of what you've heard.
But Tory, there was a bullet that grazed or hit someone's foot.
I just want to
I
say
do think
something
we're getting away from the rules talking.
Okay. No,
think
because I
to
don't like
avoid
to like
talking
not
about-
claim.
Hey, hold on.
I'm
One at
not
a time.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he needs to own up and take responsibility right now, because obviously he got a whole court situation he got to deal with. Like that's that.
And I feel
But
like
when
also,
you use language like, oh, it didn't happen like that, oh, it didn't like that, like that's gaslighting. I don't really like that.
Well, first and foremost, listen. I'm not gonna go into certain. I'm not gonna go into listen. Hold on. I'm not gonna go into list a bunch of verbatim for verbatim, because I know how the internet is, and I know what it is and how this works. We're straying away from the topic and now going deeper into my legal part of it. All I asked was,
I literally just said I don't want to hear the legal part of
it.
So Tory, you're being painted pretty badly right after this case, and I know that that's not something that you're okay with. But I wanted to know if you understand why and what your actions, like how your actions led to the kind of poster boy, narrative that you're dealing with right now, which is that you're, kind of like a gaslighting, like narcissistic Black man, which a lot of people relate to, especially ones that have been abused. They have seen that personality and the personality traits before, and they've seen you basically display these traits. And I just want to know if you are aware of why people are actually saying that, because I really think it has less to do with the actual incident and more to do with the follow-up. So I just want to open the floor to you.
Right. And just before you go, Tory, I just want to give you some examples just in case you are unclear about where we're coming from. For me, I know it's like the going on live and the hypothetical situations. Even just now, what you saying, my lawyer is a Black woman. Like, okay, I don't really know how is that supposed to like vouch your point. Like, your lawyer is a Black woman. Okay. So it's those situations like that I'm just like my father is a pastor. Okay. Like at the end of the day, like she said, of course it's about the situation, but I think it goes beyond that. And it's just like, why are you dropping music talking about the situation? Why are you going on live with these hypothetical situations? Like, it's all of this gaslighting and narcissism that's really got people like, yo, what the fuck you want?
And also, before y'all continue, I'm sorry, Tori, but before y'all continue, I just want to say, like you said, y'all have never seen me in an abusive relationship anymore. Before, like, what does that have to do with anything at all? Like, a killer was never a killer until he killed somebody. Like, what the fuck that got to do with anything?
I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time?
I said you had stated that you like we've never seen you in an abusive relationship before. Like we've never seen you in this kind of light before. And I'm asking what was that said for? Because a killer wasn't a killer until he killed somebody. So like, what was your whole thing? Like that doesn't make you not an abuser just because you haven't abused before. Like you got to start somewhere. So like, I'm confused.
I mean, and even in further like talking about like the subject, you got to realize that when even me saying, like, for instance, I have a Black lawyer or my dad is a preacher, it's not that I'm gaslighting. I'm just giving you more background into what you're asking me. I want to give you more description so you can understand that I was guided by a Black woman. It's like this Black woman also understands that she's facing two different courts. There's the court of social media and the opinion of social people, and then there's also the court of law. And at the end of the day, like, I understand that, I think, and to Ashley's question, I think everything just comes down to, it's just time. It's the matter of time that it took me to say certain things. It's the timing. And when I did finally find out my way to say it, which was through the music, it did come off insensitive. And I understand that people were hurt by that. And I'm sorry about that.
I have a thing. I'm sorry. You're doing a lot of separating language, and I think that it would even help if you would say like I was insensitive, like not it came off as insensitive, right? Like own it.
But at the same time, earlier in this conversation, I did say there has been times I have been insensitive. I did own up to it. I didn't say, I think, and I think it gets to a standpoint where it's like sometimes I feel like I guess there's just a lack of what's seen as far as like emotion from me, because I guess how I handle things. And, you know, if I don't handle things the way that everybody wants me to handle things, and it comes off insensitive, or if I am being insensitive in a way and not knowing, then like I said, I apologize for that, because that was never my aim. Ever. You know, that was never my aim. And like somebody earlier said inside of the conversation, I felt like at a point my back was to the wall, and I wasn't able to go online and say certain things, because saying listen, I'm innocent wasn't enough at a certain point. Just saying certain things that were too small or too subtle, and then not saying enough, or these things, I'm a human being. These things were things that played in my mind for 3 months, or saying something and my lawyer being like, why did you do this? Or whatever the case is, these things were things that I had to still play in my mind, that I still had to go through. And so I get it. Like, you know, how I could come off and how it could have came off. But
okay, so Tory,
can I
say
something? Oh.
I'm sorry, wait, I just have this one question before it slips my mind, and Antonio, you can go right on ahead. But I just want to ask you, okay, so never mind you being able to stand up for yourself. What about your friends that came on this platform and stood up for you and handled you in a poor lighting, and they were a poor reflection of you in the situation as well? What do you have to say about that? Because clearly y'all have behind the scenes conversations, and clearly he didn't get that conversation out his ass. So, like, what do you have to say about the people who quote unquote represent you and quote unquote are the closest people to you and are speaking like they don't give a fuck? Like Kels said that he's rich, so he don't care. Like, who get like what the fuck is going on?
That was one of the most ignorant shit I've ever heard in my entire life,
like,
and that made me look at.
Really
and to be honest,
you're not talking to no dumb bitches. Like, you ain't talking to nobody dumb in this motherfucker. Everybody got a brain of their own. So, like, what do you have to say about that?
And to go off T's point before you speak, Tori, like, and that got me thinking, like, you saying you get it, but do you really get it? Because, like, earlier when you came into the chat, it was like, well, not you, excuse me. Your homeboy was like, I don't even know why this chat is happening and what the hell y'all mad about and da da da. And it's just like, well, sir, like, we have a valid reason to be mad. We have a valid reason to be upset. And so even when you're saying things like, well, if I would have came out and said I was innocent, that wouldn't have been enough. Wouldn't have been enough for who? Like, I don't think you really get, like, I don't want to say you don't get the severity. Yeah, I'm actually going to say that. I don't think you get it. To be honest with you, I really don't think you get it. Like, I really don't. I don't think you get it. I don't think your homeboy get it. I really don't.
All right. Well, first of all, again, you make a bunch of valid points. Like I was fucking Maury or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why.
Sounded like a GC, fam.
Like there was Tom, Dick.
But it was like I was mad distant in a relationship. Like I was in America, she was in Canada. Like it was, you know, it's like one of those things where it's just, you know, you just expect more though, regardless. But it is what it is.
Do you miss Toronto?
I love Toronto.
Hey, but you did it.
Why you shoot Megan?
Oh my
What?
God!
Yo, kick that nigga.
Kick that nigga
I
out.
gotta get kicked out because I'm asking
Kick
real
that
questions.
nigga out.
Yo,
Gulag
this
him.
is why we don't like.
Who said that?
This is why we don't like.
Gulag that nigga.
Who said that
All
shit?
these
Kick
fucking
that goof out the
randoms.
room.
Just gulag him.
That guy's
Some
a
niggas
Who was
is
next though?
Yeah, but like, who was that? Like, why was he even on
that guy's a
stage?
serious goof.
It was T.
tried it. Cuz tried it.
People are so
Yo,
moderators.
moderators. No one else comes up on stage.
Yeah, like not just any of
Yeah,
that.
no more on. Okay,